Hi and welcome to the second in our series of 3 comedy podcasts here on dailyrecord.co.uk. I'm Paul English, and following yesterday's interview with Burneson's Robert Florence, today we're catching up with Brian Limond, better known to many as Limmy. He talks about the inspiration behind characters like Jacqueline McCafferty and Falconhoof, why he likes to wind people up online, and his frustrations over not being given a network TV slot. How much of Brian Limond is Limmy in those particular sketches, or is that a character as well?
It's just me, but a bit more exaggerated. Just like a stand-up. If a stand-up gets up, they're rarely themselves. They're a wee bit more exaggerated, like things that wind them up a wee bit. They get especially wound up in front of the audience just to show their point, even though they've thought about it again and again and again and again and again, toured up and down the country and all that. They can act as if it's like the first time and enraged with something. So it's just me, but a wee bit more exaggerated.
Right. So when you're talking about the stand-up thing, when you started out doing the stand-up thing, so see when you're doing, or you have done stand-up, you didn't start out doing stand-up.
That's right, aye.
See when you're doing those particular sketches, is that you kind of in stand-up mode?
Sort of. I don't know if it's something I did when I was doing stand-up, mind you. I don't think it was, but it's sort of, it's like me just being myself, and the whole me talking to the camera thing, I sort of got it for a bit like, well, one of my first my first video that I stuck on Limmy.com, the birthday card, I started with going, like, here's a wee play, and then at the end I go, hope you enjoyed the play. And I like that thing a bit like Roald Dahl at the beginning of Tales of the Unexpected, or Rod Serling in The Twilight Zone. I like the person who wrote it appearing here and there and just chatting about things, so it's sort of based on that, so it's more like that than like stand-up.
See, when you started out putting this stuff up online, I mean, that was kind of where folk came to know what you're doing, and that's where you built up a bit of a following. Was the intention always to go from that to TV, or was it just a case of you were making this stuff, folk might like it, I'll stick it up on the internet?
It's just a case of, like, when I was a web developer, I say when I still regard myself as a web developer, but I've not done anything for a while. But
you're not doing any web development?
No, doing anything. No, but it's just like I'm interested in it and I want to make things up and all that. It's just that I've not got into it. I've got a new computer now, so I might make things up again. But when I was in a web company, this web company I was working for, about 1998, 1999, we were all kind of making up flash things. Well, 2 or 3 years making up flash things, like interactive thingamabobs, like websites, and then I wanted to be a wee bit more creative. I wanted somewhere to stick my, like, things that weren't for clients, so I made Limmy.com to stick that on, and then a few years later I got a video camera, so I just stuck funny wee sketches on and things like that. So I just drifted into it. I never had any intention of, right, I'll do this, then I'll do the podcast, then I'll do the stand-up, then hopefully I'll get a telly. At the back of your mind, like, you're watching Chewing the Fat and you're going, oh, that'd be magic, I'd love to do that, I'd love to be in that, or write something for that, or just do it. But I never had any intention, never had it, that wasn't the reason. I just wanted to stick it on, and then you get people emailing you saying, oh, I liked that video, or I didn't. It was before YouTube, so you just got emailed for folk. So it was just kind of like having a laugh.
And what was the crossover? How did it come from the internet to the television? What was the process there? Were you approached, or did you sort of push for that?
I wanted. I'm sort of hard working, but I'm also quite lazy. And I wanted to make up. When I went away travelling, 2005, I left my web company that me and this other guy had just left, and kind of sold my shares and all that. I went, right, I'm off. And then I thought, right, while I'm away, I'll try and write this animation. I'll try and make an animation up. Not actually physically make it. I'll kind of write it out, and when I come back, I'll make it up, because an animation, I don't need to get actors in and light and stuff, things I don't understand, and then see what happens. So while I was away, I heard the Ricky Gervais podcast, and I thought, I'll do a podcast, that's what I'll do. And then I started writing down ideas, characters and wee situations, and made up characters that fitted the situation. So when I came back, I did the podcast, and I made a bit of a splash, and that's what I wanted to do. But before that, before I went travelling, I made up a DVD, made up a videos for my website, sold like about 150, and that got me the money for the round the world ticket for my travels.
You sold them through the internet?
Aye, just sold them from my website. I'd already had the money for the ticket, but that kind of recuperated the money for that, and that one of the DVDs ended up with the comedy unit. So while I was away, while I was in Sydney, they got in touch and said, "We've got one of your DVDs here. Who are you, and what do you want to do?" And that kind of thing. So I says, "Well, I always think, I should go back. I've got to leave." And then I thought, no, it can wait. So I says, I'm travelling just now. Can I chat to you when I come back? No, definitely. Just when you're ready. So when I got back, I says, I just want to make up this podcast first. I made up a podcast, and that got all the attention, and then it just sort of led for there. Somebody asked us if I wanted to do some stand-up. A promoter guy, and I did a bit of stand-up, and then that led to the Fringe and then the Glasgow Comedy Festival, and then all sort of merged together to create something. I think like you and Angus must have thought, right, this looks like that this could be a show.
So when you talk about that, you talk about the from the internet to the TV, including stand-up. What do you consider yourself as, a writer, an actor, a web developer, or a comedian?
I don't really know. Less say a web developer now anyway, even though I still consider myself, because I'm into making things up on the internet. I've not done it for ages, but I keep thinking of that. I'm always thinking about, like, not always thinking about action scripts. You don't know what that is, mind you, but just thinking about coding and seeing things online, going, look what they're all doing now, and I should get into this HTML5 and messed about with web things, and I've always got an interest in that, but I just I don't know, like kind of writer, actor, director, like somebody that makes their own stuff up with, like, they're in and they write and they direct.
Did you, when you were moving into TV, because the stuff on the internet was, I mean, I followed you more on the telly than I did online, but I did kind of, I dipped into some of the stuff online, and especially in retrospect, having seen it in the TV, you go back and you check more of the stuff online, and some of it is a bit kind of, the humour in it's a bit more kind of harsh and a bit darker and a bit kind of edgier, a bit maybe taking a bit more risks. Did you feel that you had to kind of temper it a wee bit for the telly audience, or I
sort of, well, with the podcast and with the internet in general, anything goes, and do what you want, unless you put it on like YouTube. Like I did the other day, I put some video on YouTube the other day, and it got taken off because it's kind of like sexual. Had a wee bit of porn in it, soft porn, right? It was just like a soft porn picture, but they took it off because that's against their rules. If you're going to have nudity and it's sexual, that's not allowed, so they took it off. And so if I had it on my own website, that would be fine, but the internet in general, anything goes. You can do what you want. That's a good thing with the podcast. I thought the podcast was going to get taken off Apple, what was it called, iTunes. I thought they were going to maybe take it off, but they ended up sticking it on their iTunes page, so that was good enough for them. It was alright for them.
They went top 10, didn't it?
Top 10, yeah. UK top 10 podcasts. I think it was like number 8 with the comedy, but number 10 with the like UK just all podcasts. So,
and that was before the telly thing came about, wasn't it?
Aye.
So I mean, that must have been, at that point, what were you thinking when you figured that, this is when you saw what your material was doing? It was going top 10 in a UK national chart. I thought
it was magic. I thought this is what I aim for, because I tried to put the podcast together. I tried to think about it, because I come from a bit of no marketing background, but we made up like viral games and videos, and like we designed stuff and made stuff up, because I'm a web developer and that was our job. Me and this other guy would just make things up for companies. So I thought, right, with the podcast we'll have a nice wee logo for it. I'll base it on the Glasgow signs that you see about, kind of copy the type for that, make it all look like it's a right polished article, even though if you listen to the podcasts I kind of go on and on and on and on for about 20 minutes. I don't really care if I'm boring anybody. I just think if you don't like it, there'll be a new one tomorrow. So I was really happy, but I expected it in a way. If it didn't happen, then I would have been like, what am I doing wrong? So, rather than, I can't believe it's happening. I'm not as arrogant as to say yes, once it got into the papers and got recognised, yes, I was like, yes, my plan is taking shape now, it's unfolding. But I did think, right, I'm putting in lots of efforts daily. 12 weeks, it's 12-week podcast daily, like, new one every day. it's enough to kind of get your teeth into. Like if you don't like one, there'll be another one the next day. It all seems to work. You got the logo. Then when it went onto the iTunes like main page, I thought, right, it's really this is going well. And then because I wanted to get onto the charts on the wee side bit in iTunes, because I thought once you go into the charts, then people see it. It's more visible. Yep. They click on that and it goes up even further. And I just did that, like I said before, about being lazy. I thought, I don't know what I'm trying to do exactly. I don't know who I'm trying to target, or if it's a production company I'm trying to target, or a channel. I don't know. I just want to look as if I just want to attract attention to my writing or the characters, or just the whole thing. So somebody could come to me with some kind of proposal rather than me having to think about, right, now here's what I want to do, and I want to create this show, and I've got the whole thing all worked out. Just to go like, look at me, look.
So when you're doing that then for the internet, for the TV, are you having to think about it differently? I mean, are you? All right,
I answer your question.
let's get back to that.
So with the podcasting, just do what I want, but with the telly, obviously you can't say the C word air and air and air. You can't say it at all, pretty much, but you can't say it again and again and again and again and again. You'd have to end like that. You'd have to maybe like justify like why it's getting said that much, or it just wouldn't happen at all anyway. Like if you're just swearing constantly, some people could see that as offensive. License fee payers, like, you know, they could go, I'm forced to pay for my telly license, and you're sticking this on the telly. Maybe that's the thinking behind it. Or if it's a commercial channel, we've got advertisers, and they'll complain or they'll withdraw their advertising if something's too offensive. Whereas with internet, you just do what you want. So I'd instinctively, just naturally know, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to be able to do this, but it wouldn't really feel limiting. It wouldn't really feel like, I can't say, F and C, F and C, F and C, F and C. I did say F and C, mind you, as Raymond Day, but I said just that. But
you can just about get away with that.
Actually, you got to watch it. You got to watch it a bit, but it sort of comes natural. You sort of know, having watched the telly for so long, you know what you're used to seeing and what you're not used to seeing.
And have you found that people have, I mean, I can think in kind of anecdotal evidence that I've come across, or stuff that you've seen online where folks say, he's not as good on the telly as what he was on the internet. Aye. What do you think about that?
I see what they mean. Like when anything goes in the telly, it's too polished or too orderly for somebody. If they go, I don't like this whole, it's kind of begin, middle and an end. Hey, my stuff isn't punchline. It's not got a lot of punchlines. Like She's Turned Away against us. That's not got a punchline. It's just a wee thing, and like that's maybe a bit more like my web stuff, whereas other ones are like fully formed sketches and it's got a beginning, middle and end, and here's a wee story, which is a bit like the podcast. But some people can prefer just, I just want to see a guy like looking as if he's phoning up a wee lassie and shouting Requiem. I prefer that because it's mad. Is he actually doing it or no? Who knows? Whereas in the telly, you know, it's went through all these procedures and checks, and you know, like if I put Requiem, for example, on in my show, and I thought about it before, I thought it's not going to work, because the way it works online is that people, they go like, is he really phoning a wee lassie? Is he really? This is so ordered, but like they like it. I'm not phoning a lassie. I'm not really phoning a lassie. And when I tell them that some people are disappointed. They would like it that I'm phoning a wee 5-year-old lassie and shouting Requiem down the phone. But so I can see why people would prefer like just the rough stuff that's just a wee kind of throwaway stupid thing you did, like at about 5 minutes, spur of the moment, rather than, right, it's all within a show and it's got this sketch before and it's got this sketch after it, and it's all within that. We're presented at the start, and then at the end it's an advert for the next programme. So I can understand that. So
when you're talking about the characters that I mean, because obviously characters within the series like Jacqueline and Dee Dee and Falconhoof are very popular, and they're recurring, and they probably bring folk back because they like the characters rather than maybe the stuff in between. Jacqueline, you've told me before, Jacqueline was somebody inspired by somebody that you came across in a park in LA.
Aye. There was a shopping area called the Grove in LA. It's while we were travelling. This is where I was kind of taking notes of the characters and things like that for the podcast. And I saw they had this wee grassy bit and a wee fake, well, not a fake bridge, a real bridge, but it was a wee fake stream, I think, and it had a wee band playing. and it's like a nice wee shopping bit, and some people are dancing about in front of this jazz band, and I saw this woman who looked pretty much just like Jacqueline does, like good clothes and everything, nice clothes, just too smart though, a wee bit too smart for this sunny day. So kind of, I think it was maybe like sort of black, and she was smart like with a bleached blonde hair, and she was dancing with her daughter, like she's sort of leaning there and having a wee dance with like an auntie does, and she was looking about at everybody, and the thing is, she looked really good, but her face was just a wee bit rough. Wasn't like she was older, it just looked like somebody who's maybe had a past of like boozing too much or heroin, maybe something like that. She looked a bit rough, but like she sorted herself out now. And there she is with her daughter, and the way she was looking about dancing with her daughter, looking about, as if she was wanting people to see, I'm a good ma. Look, I'm dancing with my daughter. I'm a good ma. And I thought that's where Jacqueline came from. Just like, she looks like she used to be rough. She's got her daughter back. She's all right now. She's smartened up. She's clean and tidy. And everybody look at me, and I know what you think of me. I know what you think of me. That kind of attitude.
Where did the catch? Because the catchphrase is one of my favourite things in Jacqueline, especially in the. And I know you don't consider it as catchphrase comedy, but the Kaylee speed dating.
Aye.
When she was dancing with the guys, and her catchphrase about losing 4 years of her life to heroin.
Aye.
And another 5 years on a methadone program.
Aye.
I mean, was that something that you figured you had to build into it?
The catchphrase, or where did I get that?
No, well, where did it come from? And did you think it was was that a hook?
I kind of like in the podcast. I wanted it. I sort of like catchphrase stuff, and I don't live. It's just like the joke is there's the catchphrase. Like we're all waiting for the catchphrase to happen, then it happens, and that's it. That's a joke, because that sort of wears out a bit. Whereas with her, I try to make it that it's her own catchphrase. It's like it's a catchphrase because she won't shut up about it, rather than here it comes. But you could say, well, is that not what all catchphrase like? Only me. That's his catchphrase because he doesn't stop saying it. So maybe it is without me even knowing it. Oh no, it's happened to me. But I sort of got it for like one of these things you watch on Scottish telly. Sort of like The Scheme. There was something years ago where I think they were talking to like heroin addicts, former heroin addicts, and one woman was saying, I don't know if she said the whole I lost 3 years of my life to heroin, but she definitely said heroin. And I thought, she's saying heroin because she thinks that's how you actually say heroin. I think she thinks maybe heroin is like the kind of slang. It's like saying jumping instead of jumping. She maybe thinks it's like she's heard heroin. And she thinks maybe no, that's how you really say it. She's trying to speak kind of like in her phone voice in a way. So she's saying heroin. So I thought that's why Jacqueline's saying it. She's saying it because she thinks that's how it's said, but it's not. And I lost 3 years of my life and 5 years of methadone program. I think I've sort of heard that said a few times in these sort of programs where people are like, they've like, do you know methadone's even worse? You hear that part. Methadone's even worse than heroin. So it's just kind of like it's just like anything with your writing stuff. You just sort of hear it here and there, and you go a bit of her and a bit of her, a bit of him.
Are you affectionate towards her? Do you like her?
Aye. I don't know if she'd like me, mind you, but. I like her, and I like all the characters. Even like John Paul for the podcast in the first series, and I mean I don't actually like what like John Paul does, but I like baddies, and not that Jacqueline's a baddie, she's a goodie, but I like baddies and bad people who've got no limitations to their evil, things like that. They're just out and out bad. I like that, and I like people who are kind of pathetic. You just feel sorry for him and all that, and I like kind of mix, but I like her.
What about Dee? Where did he come from?
He's a sort of mix of me, like me between school and college, and between I went from college to uni, and then between uni and getting a job, there was like like half a year or a year of lying about doing nothing and just sleeping, and I think like in the first series I've got the one where he can't quite remember if this dream he had was real or not. When he goes up, he had a dream that he was up the top of that finishing Cran having a party with his dad and his sister.
Yep.
and he can't quite remember because he sleeps all the time, and that happened to me quite a few times. My pals would be working just after I left school. They were working, like one was a screen printer and one was, I don't know, I think it was a poster or something. So they'd have their lives, but I'd just be sleeping all day and just watching adverts, and I'd meet them at the weekend, I'd meet them during the week and go to the pub and go, you see that advert where it goes like that, you spot that bit in that advert, and they're like, nah. And like, one of the things for the show is Foreigner, I Want to Know What Love Is, comes up in yellow text. I can't quite remember exactly what happens, but you know, one of these CD adverts, compilation ones, it's highlighted yellow when that was the song that was playing in an advert.
Yep.
I think I noticed that one night. I think that happened one night. So it's based on me and the sleeping thing. I would go to I'd meet up with my pals during the week or at the weekend and say, I think I said to my mate Paul once, I thought you were getting your hair dyed. You're not getting your hair dyed? I thought, what are you on about? Did you not say you're going to get your hair dyed blonde? But no. And I realised I dreamt it. So that's right. Because the more and more I would sleep, the less fantastic the dreams would become. They just become more and more ordinary, like normal conversations. And I wouldn't be able to distinguish between reality and dreams. So it's kind of based on him lying about the day nothing. Plus,
but you never like made a helmet out of tinfoil and went to the moon.
I never did that. That's sort of based on the old classic sticking. That was an accident. That was never meant to happen. That tinfoil hat happened like in the going to the moon one. I never had the tinfoil hat to begin with, but I was just rehearsing it, the bit where I was lying on the couch upside down after whatever it was, triple TARDIS bucket, I can't remember, but upside down, and then I fall off, so I was just getting out a shot to see which way I would land, and I landed and it tore the wig, it ripped the wig, and I think it was the last DD sketch of the whole filming, and I was like, oh no, and it cost a fortune. I was like, what are we going to do? And Nicole, makeup lassie, was saying, no, there's nothing we can do with this wig, it's just torn. And I was like, right, wait a minute, maybe we could have like a helmet like he's gone to the moon or something, and then that kind of, somebody was ready for going away for a cycling helmet, and I was like, no, wait a minute, well we could maybe cover it in tinfoil, kind of cover it in tinfoil. And I was like, no, wait a minute, and we were kind of chatting about it. How about they'll just say it's a tinfoil hat? I was like, this is meant to happen. Tinfoil hat, it's magic, it's a helmet for going to the moon, plus it's the classical guy, it's a bit para and all that, try to stop like the aliens reading his mind.
Yep.
So that just worked out by accident. I'm like, yes.
And Joker, why Joker?
That's based on like me and all. So DD is sort of based on quite a lot. 'Cause it's
on an old you.
I thought that when I was wee though, when I was like still in primary school, I'd go up the town and I'd see this bus for Joker going by. I remember I was on one of the chat lines one night. I think it was 0055 0055. That was
right.
that was before 0898.
Right.
So 0898 is gone now, but this is before. It was like 0055 0055, and then I had another one 0055 0033, and it's for adults. It was for grown-ups to chat. And I remember somebody in that, I was listening to like, aye guys, I was listening to older sounding guys going like that to like, aye man, I'm for Joker, and he never had a DD voice, but it was just like older sounding people, that's how they sounded to me. Aye, for Joker. And I was like, Joker, you're for Joker, that place in the bus. That place in the bus. He's like, shut up wee man. And I left, but I'd always see these that cost a fortune. I ended up writing up a fortune in the phone bill or that. I'd always see this Joker bus and I go, what Joker? That's like an egg yolk. Joker, where is Joker? You see it like, I think the 45 or the 57 goes to like Auchinlearn. We used to go to Ballarnock or something. Ballarnock, I can't remember the name of it. And you go, what are these places like when you get there? These places, when you go there, so I always thought, what is Joker like? I thought, what is Joker like? I remember having a trans card, like with the underground and the bus and the train. I thought, I might just jump in one of the buses and just go and just see what it's like. But I never did that. But DD did.
But he did it. He did it for you. And right, the last of the characters I want to ask you about, Falconhoof, who's, well, I was going to say he's my favourite, but I actually think Jacqueline and DD, depending on the sketch, are my favourite. But Falconhoof, is that a straight lift from Raven? Because that's what some folk have said.
He's partly based on like that whole adventure thing. I think maybe Raven's sort of based on what was it called?
Nightmare.
No, you know that same thing, like it's games, tasks, and it's that whole feathery or like bear skin thing, whatever it is. It's sort of the egg sort of things he's wearing that, but it's based a bit on the look of Raven with the beard and that, but then also a bit like Nightmare, what he's wearing, and the whole adventure game thing, text-based adventure stuff for the 80s, the whole go north, get key, that whole thing. So it's a mix of the whole adventure thing and The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and all that, Traveller and gone places.
But there were never as many BAMs phoning them as there are phoning Falconhoof.
I just like the idea that he's just trying to stay in character and try to. It depends upon everybody, like him staying in character, and they just bring reality in it all the time. Like ask him to go to Gibbs Hill Community Centre and when's my son getting his money, things like that.
Tell me finally in reference to the last series, one of my favourite sketches was wasn't it really, didn't amount to much. It was just a guy walking up the street with his tracksuit top open screaming she's turned away, he's against us. So where's that come from? It's
based on when I was growing up in Canmodrick. I don't want to say like when I was growing up in Canmodrick many years ago, but I was growing up in Canmodrick, I'd see the odd person like that, like an alky walking down the street just wrecked. You just see them. I don't, depending on what area you stay in, you see more here than you might see in some other place, but you see the odd like madman walking down the street or alky just wrecked and shouting stuff. There'd be the odd guy walking about just with a stereo all the time, or an old guy that he would always be drunk every night and shout, "We are the people," and I didn't know what that meant at the time. I didn't know. But I'm surprised now I got bet up. But it's based on that. It's sort of a bit based on this bit in Taxi Driver, when he's sitting in the taxi. He's in I don't know what area he'd be in, like Harlem maybe, and he's sitting there at night, and this guy he goes walking past, and he's pure angry about something. He's like, oh, and he's waving his fists, and it's based on the things you just see, just somebody going by, they're mental about something, they've just went after them, not about something, and he's obviously had some kind of like whole family breakdown. It's finished, and it's just, I just like the wee things. It's just a wee glimpse. You don't know what's happened. But the guy's obviously, I think when somebody's got their top off during the day and it's a cloudy day, or especially if they've got a jacket but their top off, then you know that something's went really wrong in their life. So it's just based on these wee glimpses you see a folk.
When you obviously you would have been aware of the fact that there was a whole big kind of YouTube tribute to that particular sketch. I mean,
that's magic.
What do you feel when you see stuff like that?
That's brilliant. It started because I just said as a joke on Facebook. I says, right everybody, this Saturday I'm going to be walking up Sucky Hall Street doing the She's Turned Her Wains Against Us walk naked. We'll start at Driftwood down the bottom of Sucky Hall Street there, and we'll end up at Royal Concert Hall. More and more I do it, and people are like, yes, are you seriously there? I'm like, of course I'm not. I'm going to be naked anywhere, never mind walking up there. But some people turn up and they're like, where are you? Like on Facebook, I'm like, are you serious? Well, I'm sitting in the house watching news type this. And some people say, no, there's people here ready to date. I'm like, you're joking. And then some people were saying on Twitter, standing in the queue for the garage, and a group of guys have just walked past us shouting, she's turned the wains against us. I'm like, this isn't really happening, is it? And then I saw the video, and it was a big quarter-hour video of people walking, doing all, she's turned the wains against us. She's turned the wains against us. She's turned the wains against us.
There was a lot of West End coming through that, wasn't there?
It was funny, I like some of that kind of East Coast white in them, and she's turned the wains against us, eh? And nobody said that, but doing that, and then they went, I kind of scrolled through it a wee bit, went to the end of the Royal Concert Hall, and then some lassies joined in, and they were like, she's turned the wains against us! She's turned the wains against us! They're doing this mad screaming like that bit in Clockwork Orange when he's getting his eyes held open, like, ah! It's like they're shouting like, ah! She's turned the wains against us! And I was like, this is brilliant, this is excellent. And I know, like I've thought before, a catchphrase comedy, and I'm not really into that, but if that's like a catchphrase and that's what it results in, that's magic.
That's when it's connecting with people. I know I've spoken to you before about the response you get from the punters in the street, but that was at the end of the first series, so now that this is the end of the second series, has that changed? Have you noticed a difference?
I think so. I'm not sure because I can't quite remember what happened after the first series, but I don't know. I think like maybe some more people came up to us. I don't know. Some days nobody comes up to us, and other days it happens a few times in a row. But I don't really know if it's happened more or less. Really, I'm not really sure.
Right. Something I wanted to ask you about Twitter. I follow you on Twitter. I know an awful lot of other folk follow you on Twitter. It's it's very entertaining following you on Twitter. What are you using it for?
For a laugh, and just people follow us, and I can just say what I want and just tweet, and I like just sort of going off my nut a bit on it, or try to get a reaction, or there was a while as it was leading up to the show being on. I was really behaving myself. I was thinking, try and no lose followers, try and gain followers, don't tweet too much, tweet about 3 or 4 times a day, and say cliched, retweetable things like just say that's really clever. Things like that, a kind of cynical ploy to get me a follower so that when the show came out I could advertise it a bit more. And I was really behaving myself. I wasn't going off in one like talking about wolves all day. I was just going like, right, I'll just say, oh, what's it like? It wasn't things like, what's it like when you go into the toilet, public toilet, and there's no toilet paper? Oh, that's so annoying. But wee things like that, and they got retweeted, some got really popular. But after the show was on, I thought, right, now I can just get back to normal, and just go like, I'm just going to just wind folk up, or just annoy folk, or just go off my nut, just entertain folk and entertain myself. It's kind of entertaining myself, mostly just that people were reading my stuff and I can just say what I want and just go on and on and on and on and on. So it's entertaining myself and hopefully entertaining other folk. And
what do you think when people take some of the stuff that you're saying maybe a bit more literally than you intended?
I don't get it. I don't know how folk, like, I'm amazed when people take like stuff I say on Twitter or Facebook, like they don't get it. I don't know if it's a literacy thing, because you do see people like on Twitter or Facebook and they don't know how to kind of read things or type things, and maybe it's that, or there's some things I read back and I go, how could they not get that joke? It doesn't require certain things being in italic or bold or a stress being on a certain word, or you need to see my body language. It's absolutely there in black and white that this is a joke. But some people they don't get it, and I'm flabbergasted.
What's next? What's next for Limmy, and what's next for Brian?
I don't know. I mean, right now I'm just waiting to see how what happens like with a third series, or waiting to see what I want to do next. I want to do something else. I'm just considering my options, really, whatever the options are. I'm just see if I'm going to do something new or do another series. I'm not quite sure yet. It depends on how it all goes.
I mean, quite a lot of people that were following you, I mean, you obviously had a Scottish following because it was on TV in Scotland, but other folk followed you online through the series, through the iPlayer on the BBC. Does it frustrate you that it wasn't given the platform of a sort of network viewing?
Aye, a wee bit. I mean, I would like it to be UK wide. I would like my show to be UK wide and Europe wide and world wide and everything, but that's not going to happen. But I would like it to be UK wide since it is on the BBC. But whatever, I don't know what the reasons are, but they've got their reasons. So I would really like it to be UK wide, but that's just it. And that's why I'm just thinking about what I want to do next. I want to see how it goes. Should I make up a new thing that's got a better chance of being UK wide? Is Limmy show going to be UK wide? I don't really know, so I'm just waiting to see.
When you've got folk like Matt Lucas bigging you up in the press and on Radio 2 and inviting you onto his panel show, I mean, does that feel like, you can't buy that kind of help, that kind of publicity?
Aye, kinda, but it's also just it's just it just sort of tickles me a wee bit more than any of the benefits to my show or my career or anything like that. It's just magic. When you go for having seen like Matt Lucas like being George Dawes, and then you're in his house and you're having a chat, you're having a laugh and all that. It's funny. Just that's a nice kind of tippy experience. That kind of thing. Or you're meeting these other celebs, and you're like, I've saw you for years on the telly, and then you just get used to it, or you just tell yourself to get used to it. It's just a nice experience. I think about that more than this is. It is good. Like when he, like say Matt Lucas, I don't know, he's got like something like 250,000 followers, and he says everybody watch this, or Graham Linehan or somebody else says everybody watch this. It's good in that way, but it's also good to go. I remember making my stuff up in my living room, and then you go for that to the podcast, to the stand-up, and then this is happening. And I sometimes kind of go on about it a bit on like my webcam, saying to everybody, if you're thinking of doing any of this, do it. Because it's not easy, but it's easier than what you think. All of this, it's not like it happens to other people. It happened to me. I know people could be listening going like, what happened to you? What happened to you? Why are you talking as if you're like Hollywood or something like that? But what's happened, it's you just need to take a bit of a chance. That's the main thing. Take a bit of a risk, especially with stand-up, because that's scary. But you just leap into it, and these sort of things can just kind of snowball.
Great. Brian, thanks very much.
Thanks.